All right, ready to dive in. Today, we're tackling cellular reprogramming.
Yeah.
Like turning one cell into a whole other type.
Right.
Pretty wild stuff, right? Almost sounds like sci-fi. And the idea's been around for a while that basically any cell in your body, you could reprogram it.
Uh-huh.
But what if that's not the whole story?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. There's this new study fresh out of the University of Toronto, and it's kind of shaking things up, like challenging that assumption we just talked about.
Okay, so that's what we're digging into today.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, this paper, it came out just this week, November 9th, 2024. The title's a mouthful. Unusual Stem Cell Discovery Challenges, Long-Standing Cellular Reprogramming Theories.
Yeah, a lot to unpack there.
And it's not just some blog post or anything. This is serious research, could have some big implications.
Absolutely. Could really change how we see cell identity and, what all this means for regenerative medicine down the line.
Okay, let's get specific. This study, they're looking at a certain type of cell,
Yeah.
neural crest stem cell.
Yeah.
And here's the catch. You find these cells in places you wouldn't expect, like skin, bone, even connective tissue. Not exactly where you think of neurons being made, are they?
No.
So what's the deal with these neural crest stem cells? What makes them so special?
It's all about where they come from. See, neural crest stem cells, they originate from the same layer in the embryo as neurons do. It's called the ectodermal germ layer.
Interesting.
So it's like they've got this shared history, this inbuilt tendency, you could say, to become neurons.
I see.
It's not that any skin cell suddenly morphs into a neuron, but these particular stem cells, they're already kind of primed for it.
So instead of turning a brick into gold, it's more like we found a gold nugget hidden inside the brick the whole time.
Exactly, and that's what's so groundbreaking about this study. Past research might have totally missed these neural crest stem cells, thought they were just regular skin cells, and assumed they were directly reprogramming those skin cells into neurons.
Oh, what a twist.
Yeah, it really makes you think, like, if we've been misinterpreting things because of these hidden stem cell populations, what does that mean for all the reprogramming research that came before?
Right, huge implications.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier how this challenges what we thought about cell identity. Can you unpack that a bit more? Like, why is this such a big deal?
Sure. For a long time, direct reprogramming has been this major focus in stem cell research, directly turning one type of cell into another, totally different one. But this study, it suggests that cell identity, it might be way more fixed than we realized. It's not as simple as flipping a switch. These cells, they have a past, a lineage that affects what they can become, and that has massive implications for how we approach stem cell therapies going forward.
So let's talk about those implications. We know scientists are working on using stem cells to treat all sorts of diseases, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, spinal cord injuries, tons more. How does this discovery change things?
Well, think about it. What if instead of trying to force a skin cell to become a neuron, we could just take these neural crest stem cells, which already exist, and guide them along the path they're already inclined towards?
Okay, yeah.
The process could be much more efficient, more reliable, maybe even safer.
That's incredible. Like, we've found a shortcut, a more natural way to reprogram cells.
And the best part, these neural crest stem cells, they're pretty easy to get to. They're right there in the skin. Imagine, a simple skin biopsy could provide us with cells that have the potential to treat so many different diseases. This could be a game changer.
I'm hooked already. But before we get too carried away with all the possibilities, let's look closer at the study itself. These researchers, they were skeptical about these direct reprogramming claims, right? What did they actually do to test their theory?
They were super thorough, which is why the study is so convincing. They carefully analyzed cells that everyone thought had been directly reprogrammed. And you know what they found? Something amazing. They found traces of these neural crest stem cells, like hidden amongst all the other cells.
Wow.
These cells, they weren't a product of direct reprogramming at all. They were actually, the real source of those new neurons.
So it's like finding a needle in a haystack. No wonder these cells got overlooked in past studies. They're like little ninjas blending right in.
Exactly. And because they're so rare, that's what makes this finding so important. It's like, we might need to rethink a lot of what we thought we knew about how flexible cells are.
This is where I think it gets really exciting for our listeners. We're talking about potentially treating some serious diseases here. Can you give us a picture of what this could look like in the future?
Sure. Picture this, a patient with Parkinson's, right? They could just give a skin sample.
Okay.
From that, doctors could isolate these neural crest stem cells and use them to replace the damaged neurons in the brain. potentially, stopping or even reversing the disease.
Wow, that's incredible. Are we talking about a cure for Parkinson's?
Well, it's still early. We need a lot more research. But the potential is definitely there. And it's not just Parkinson's. Think about Alzheimer's, spinal cord injuries, even things like multiple sclerosis. These neural crest stem cells, they could be the key to developing all sorts of new treatments for neurological disorders.
It's amazing to think these tiny cells hiding in plain sight could hold the key to treating such devastating diseases. Really shows the power of scientific discovery, doesn't it?
It really does. And it shows how important it is to always question what we think we know, push the boundaries of our understanding. This study is like the perfect example of how one discovery can completely change our view of a whole field and open up totally new avenues to explore.
That's what I love about these deep dives. We take these complicated scientific ideas and break them down, look at what they really mean for the world. And for our listeners, this isn't just abstract science. This is about hope. Hope for new treatments, better outcomes, a future where diseases that seemed incurable, maybe, just maybe, they won't be anymore.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Okay, we've talked about the good stuff, but what about the challenges? What are some of the hurdles researchers might face in actually turning this discovery into real treatments?
Well, a big one is going to be figuring out how to isolate and purify these neural crest stem cells efficiently. Remember, they're super rare, a tiny fraction of the cells in any tissue sample.
So like that needle in a haystack we talked about, but on a microscopic level.
Exactly. But once we've got them isolated, the next challenge is how to control what they become. We need to be able to direct these cells, make them turn into the specific types we need to treat each disease.
So it's not just finding them, it's about steering them down the right path.
Exactly. And to do that, we need a deep understanding of the molecular signals that control cell fate. Like, we got to learn how to speak their language.
Sounds like we're just at the beginning of a long and exciting road.
Oh, yeah, for sure. This discovery, it's really just the tip of the iceberg. It opens up a whole new world of possibilities for regenerative medicine.
And speaking of possibilities, I can't help but wonder, if we can find these neural crest stem cells in the skin, what other hidden stem cell populations are out there, just waiting to be discovered?
That's a great question, and it's one that researchers all over the world are asking right now. This study has really, opened up a whole new realm of possibilities.
So it's bigger than just neural crest stem cells. This has implications for the whole field of stem cell research.
Absolutely. It makes us think differently about cell identity, about what different cell types are capable of. It's a paradigm shift, like a change in how we understand how cells work and how we can use them to treat disease.
This is what I love about science. Just when we think we've got it figured out, a new discovery comes along and shakes everything up.
And who knows what other breakthroughs are just around the corner. That's what makes this field so exciting, so captivating. Always something new to learn, a new mystery to solve.
I couldn't agree more. This really highlights how important continued research is, investing in the science that could lead to these amazing new therapies.
Absolutely. Supporting scientific research, it's investing in our future, in the health and well-being of generations to come.
Now, before we wrap things up, I want to bring it back to our listeners. This is a field that's moving fast, and we've really only scratched the surface of what neural crest stem cells might be capable of. So what's the one thing you want our listeners to take away from this deep dive?
I think the main thing is our bodies are full of surprises. We're still learning so much about how complex our cells are. And this whole thing with the neural crest stem cells hiding out in skin and other tissues, it's a perfect example. It just reminds us there's a ton we don't know. And the potential for new therapies, it's huge.
I love that. Like, our bodies are holding on to these incredible secrets, just waiting for us to figure them out. And maybe one day these neural crest stem cells, they'll be the key to treating diseases we thought were, incurable.
Yeah, exactly. This discovery could completely change medicine as we know it.
Okay, let's do a quick recap of what we've covered today. We started with cellular reprogramming, the whole idea that we can transform one cell type into a completely different one. Then we look at this groundbreaking study that, kind of threw a wrench in that. It showed those neural crest stem cells, the ones naturally found in tissues like skin, they were the actual source of neurons in experiments that folks thought were examples of direct reprogramming.
Right, and that finding has some massive implications for stem cell therapies going forward. These neural crest stem cells, they're relatively easy to get to, and they can become all sorts of different cell types. It opens up a whole new world of possibilities for treating things like Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, spinal cord injuries, the list goes on.
It's like we found this hidden treasure chest of potential cures right there under our skin.
Uh-huh. Great way to put it. And sure, there are still challenges, like how do we isolate these cells efficiently? How do we control what they become? But, the future of regenerative medicine is looking pretty bright.
It's incredible to think that something as simple as a skin sample could one day provide the cells needed to treat some of these, really debilitating diseases. It really shows the power of scientific research and how important it is to support the people pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
Couldn't agree more. Supporting research is like investing in hope in a future where these diseases that seemed unbeatable, maybe they won't be anymore.
So to everyone listening out there, I hope this deep dive has left you feeling inspired and maybe even a little bit amazed by, just how complex and how powerful our own bodies are. This is a field that's constantly changing, so stay curious, stay informed, and who knows, maybe one day you'll be the one making the next big discovery.
And remember, even though we're wrapping up this particular deep dive, the journey of learning never really ends. There are always more questions to ask, more mysteries to solve, and tons of fascinating discoveries waiting to be made out there.
That's a perfect way to end things. Thanks for joining us on this incredible exploration into the world of neural crest stem cells and cellular reprogramming. Until next time, keep that curiosity alive.